This anime is probably one of the best animes to watch. Let's get into and enjoy. A few years back, an anime boy named Minato Naria discovered his passion for Kyudo while watching a tournament with his mother. He was enchanted by the sound of the bowering called Tsurune, which made him eager to join the Kyudo club at Kirasaki. Private middle school now, as he gets ready to start high school at Kumimato, decides to go for a morning run. On a scenic mountain path while he is at a park, he stops to wash his face and suddenly, a big dog named Kuma jumps on. Him Matato recognizes Kuma is the pet of the T family and expect to see Mr. T, who usually walks him to his surprise. It's actually his best friend Seiya T. Seiya quickly reminds Minato to dry his face, concerned that he might catch a cold when Minato asks if Seiya will also be going to Ki. Seiya seems surprised that Minato already knew this information. As they walk home together, Seiya feels really happy that they will be attending the same school again. During the entrance ceremony, Seiya delivers a speech. As the first representative afterward, different clubs gathered to recruit new members. A tough-looking boy scares off a soccer club recruiter until another boy tells him to back off. Meanwhile, Minato and Seiya step outside, where a tall boy suddenly wraps his arms around them. At first, Minato thinks it is another recruiter, but Seiya realizes it is Rai Yamachi, their childhood friend who had moved away during elementary school. Though much taller, Rai is excited to reunite with them. Soon Tomo, Morella Rao's homeroom teacher, approaches them, known as Tommy-sensei. He asks for their help with something, but does not explain. Curious, they follow him to the Kyudo dojo, which makes Minato uneasy. Tomo tells them that Kizumi has a Kyudo dojo, but the club has been inactive. The principal wants it to be revived. Ryle Ha is thrilled and shares that he practiced Kyudo in middle school, wanting to continue. He also mentions that Matato and Seiya were part of their middle school team. However, Matato refuses to join, explaining that he has too many responsibilities at home after his mother's passing. Are unaware of this, apologizes, but Matato reassures him. Tomo asks Seiya and Ra to join, and they agree. Before leaving, Tomo tells Matato he is welcome anytime later. Seiya asks Matato if he is truly giving up Kyudo, and Minato insists he has quit after school. Minato buys groceries and rides his bike home. At home, he bows at his mother's shrine before heading to his room. His father texts him saying he will be home late and does not need dinner. Lying on his bed, Minato hears students talking about the clubs they joined in his bag. He finds a small pouch with a dragonfly design which brings back memories. The next day, their homeroom teacher reminds students to submit their club forms. Seiya fills out his for the Kyudo club while Minato stares out the window after class. A girl from the Kyudo club talks to Seiya, and Matato quietly leaves at the back gate. Ri catches up to him, begging him to attend the Kyudo briefing. Vado refuses, but Ryo keeps insisting, saying he is nervous about the weird girls in the club. He even calls Minato his hero. Embarrassing him, Raya admits that watching Minato in middle school inspired him to take up Kyudo. He offers to help Minato with chores if he agrees to attend. Eventually, Minato gives in, but insists he will only watch at the Kyudo dojo. Seiya and some experienced members prepare for the briefing. Tomo mentions that 2 skilled archers will be joining. Seiya is eager to rebuild the Uchiha clan. Just kidding, a club soon being loud in the dojo, though they tease each other. Kaido is dedicated to Kyudo. These two are the experienced members. Tomo introduces the female members, Aranoa and Yuna. Seiya also introduces himself. Then Rahi enters, dragging Minato along as Tomo starts the briefing. He emphasizes the discipline required in Kyudo and introduces the 3 main tools: the bow, the arrow, and the glove. To demonstrate, he asks Minato to shoot. Minato hesitates, saying he is not a club member, but the students clap, pressuring him. Kaido hands him an arrow and checks his draw weight. Despite Matt's protests, he challenges Minato's pride as an archer, making him uncomfortable. Reluctantly, Minato takes out his own glove from the dragonfly pouch. As Minato prepares to shoot, Tomo explains the technique. Minato tells himself that this time will be different. However, when he releases the arrow, he misses. Tomo encourages him to try again, but Matato starts trembling as he recalls his past failures in middle school. He misses once more and becomes frustrated. Kaido scolds him, saying he should take Kyudo seriously. Matato, overwhelmed, declares that he is no longer an archer and walks away. Seiya quietly observes that Matato is suffering from Heche. As Minato rides his bike, he recalls how people sympathized with him when his struggles with Heche began. He remembers breaking down after a middle school competition. While Seiya tried to comfort him, lost in thought, he rides until it gets dark, stopping near a forest road. Suddenly, he hears the sound of a tune coming from the woods. Intrigued, he follows the noise and discovers a hidden Kyudo dojo called Yadan no Mori. There, he sees a young man practicing Kyudo with incredible skill. The target is already filled with arrows. Minato watches in awe. Just then, a white owl calls out, startling him, and he stumbles. The archer notices him and calls the owl named Fu to his arm. One night, a mysterious man talks to his owl about an unexpected visitor. The visitor. Minato tries to leave but stumbles and injures his right hand. The man notices and invites him inside the Kyudo dojo to treat his wound while cleaning and wrapping it. He shares his unique practice method. He doesn't count the number of successful shots, only the total arrows he shoots every day. He fires 100 arrows until he reaches 10,000. He offers Matato a chance to shoot, but the memory of his previous failure overwhelms Matato, and he quickly leaves. The next day at school, Matato keeps thinking about the man. Seiya notices the bandage on Minato's hand and asks about it, but Matato avoids answering. Later, Rahi comes to practice Kyudo with him, but finds that Matato has already left. Matato returns to Yacht Shrine and finds the man Masaki repairing his bow. Masaki playfully asks Matato to find a box of glove powder with a funny bikini design. Matato hesitates but eventually hands it over. Masaki's owl lands on Mato's shoulder, surprising him as Masaki shoots an arrow. Matato watches, feeling fascinated at the cute Tomo teaches the new members about bows and shares some traditional Kyudo wisdom. Kaido, impatient with the slow pace, complains, but Nano reminds him that everyone starts as a beginner. The girls are surprised that they are allowed to handle bows so soon, but Tomo believes learning by doing his best afterward. Tomo asks the experienced members if they want to join the upcoming prefectural tournament, since they don't have enough people for a full team. He suggests they compete individually. The girls agree, but Seiya insists the boys should enter as a team, assuming Matato will join. Kaido disagrees, saying Matato won't return, and gets upset when Seiya claims Minato is a better archer than he is. Tomo tells them to think carefully before deciding after practice. Rai and Seiya wait for the bus. Raya wonders how they can convince Matato to join. He asks Seiya about Hake, but Seiya only knows that Matato struggles with it. Raya points out that Seiya wants to shoot with Minato, which is why he insists on a team competition. Seiya doesn't deny it, but says that's not his only reason. He wants to make up for something later at the Kyudo dojo. Minato remembers a competition from 10 months ago. He and Seiya had reached the finals at Kirasaki, where Minato was expected to rival Shu Fujiwara. Before the last round, Shu mentioned that their instructor, Sanji Sensei, was watching. Feeling confident, Minato took his shot but released the arrow too early, missing the target. Shocked, both he and Seiya watched his shoe hit his mark. Minato's nervousness worsened, and he kept missing, causing their team to lose. Back in the present, a man offers Matato and Waki while writing in a notebook. Matato asks what he will do after shooting 10,000 arrows to Minato's surprise. The man says he will quit Kyudo. He then asks Matato about his ultimate future. Minato admits his struggle with Heche and how he can no longer hear the perfect sound of a shot called Tsurune. The man understands and shares that he experienced Heche in high school. Though he still hit targets, his form was wrong. He tried different methods to fix it, but never fully recovered. He tells Matato that Kyudo should be about teamwork and that sometimes he feels invisible in the world. That night, Matato returns home late. Seiya sees a feather on his jacket and suggests they enter the prefectural tournament together. Matado refuses, saying he isn't good enough and doesn't see them as a team. When Seiya insists they are a team, Matado snaps, asking why Seiya never spoke up in middle school. Seiya, frustrated, challenges Minato to admit that he was the reason their team lost in the final. He warns Matado that if he pushes him further, he might make him cry alone in his room. Matado tries to hold back tears and yells into his pillow. While doing so, the box of glove powder falls from his pocket, reminding him of Misaki. He decides to return it. The next day that evening, his father comes home and Matado prepares dinner. As they eat, his father praises his cooking, saying it tastes like his mother's. They talk about school in Kyudo, and his father expresses sadness that Mato's mother never got to see him continue his practice the next day. Minato visits the Kyudojo to return the glove powder box. To his surprise, the place is crowded with people practicing. A woman informs him that Takagawa-san passed away a year ago, leaving Matado confused. On Sunday, Matado and his father visit their family grave. Matado remembers his mother's words about Tsurune and her promise to support him as they pray. His father encourages him to live a life without regrets. That night, Minato goes back to the Kyudojo to return the box. Misaki tells to keep it as Misaki prepares to shoot his 10,000th arrow. Matado suddenly pleads with him not to disappear, saying he wants to watch him shoot more. Misaki laughs, realizing that Matado thought he was a ghost. The woman had mistaken him for someone else. Misaki then asks Minato to take the final shot for him, though uncertain. Matado agrees. He misses the target, but the experience brings him happiness. He tells Misaki that he knows he won't give up on Kyudo and that he won't give up either. The next day, Minato decides to join the Kyudo club. Even though he hasn't overcome his Heche, the club members welcome him warmly, except for Kyudo, who doesn't acknowledge Matado because he thinks Matado isn't skilled enough. After school, Raya rushes to Matado and Essie's classes to walk with them to practice, which annoys Matado. In the changing room, Raya apologizes for making Matado uncomfortable, but Matado admits he expected some hostility. Seiya helps Ro put on his hakama for the first time, reassuring him in the Kyudojo. Minato helps set up the target since Nanao is late. When Nano arrives, he thanks Minato and greets him with Mura, explaining that it comes from the Turkish word merhaba. Yuna tells him not to encourage Nano's antics. The conversation shifts to why many beginners quit the club. Some blame Nano's fans, while others felt intimidated by Kyudo or found the training too slow. Now, with Mato's arrival, the club has 8 members. Raa defends Nano and Kyudo, saying those students would have quit anyway. Nano is happy they now have enough members for a group to tournament, but Kyudo refuses to team up with Matado, calling him indecisive. Matado remains calm as the boys argue. Tomo watches without interfering, believing they need to sort things out themselves. He doesn't know why Minato changed his mind about Kyudo, but trusts his determination. After practice, Minato leaves early to buy groceries. At the bus stop, Ri asks Seiya how to help Minato with Heche, but Se hesitates. He admits he didn't understand Heche back in middle school and assumed Matat would recover quickly. Seiya now wants to support Matado quietly rather than pushing him. Meanwhile, he wonders what caused Mato's sudden change of heart. Determined to help, Rai goes to the library to research Heche. Finding no clear answers, he meets a Kyudo veteran who directs him to an archery shop at Nakazaki Archery Supplies. The shop owner gives Ryle a photocopied diary of someone who struggled with Heche in exchange for Rai's promise to buy all his gear from the shop. Excited, Rai agrees. At home, he reads the diary and feels hopeful that Matato can overcome Heche too. The next morning, Raya visits Mato's house but learns from Minato's father that he left early. Matato arrives at the Kyudojo to clean and practice alone. He reads a diary Masaki gave him about overcoming Heche. Masaki had told him they would meet again if he kept practicing Kyudo. Rahi secretly watches Minato using a training method from the diary and admires his dedication on the BE. Train Kyudo asks Nano if he was really the reason so many club members quit. Nano realizes Kyudo worries about it, but also knows Kyudo dislikes people who don't take Kyudo seriously, like Minato in his eyes. Nano challenges Kyudo, asking why he won't acknowledge Minato's efforts. Kyudo stubbornly refuses Nano, then questions why Kyudo didn't join AA. Strong Kyudo School. Kyudo admits he wants to be part of an underdog team that defeats the best school Nano suspects. Kyudo secretly wants to compete in the tournament, but denies it when asked at practice. Minato asks Seiya to help him. Time his full draw. Kyudo, distracted by their training, misses his own shot and gets frustrated. Vano notices Raya, looking troubled, and talks to him. Raya admits he feels guilty for dragging Minato into the club, as he always saw him as a hero. He enjoys the club, but hates the tension between Minato and Kyudo. Nano reassures him that a little annoyance can be good between friends, and decides to help. Seiya watches them and realizes they're planning something. The next morning, Raya and Nano plan to have Kyudo Minato practice Ting early, hoping it will make him respect Minato's dedication. However, when they arrive at school, they find Seiya already there. Investigating who has been cleaning the Kyudo dojo early, the girls also show up, curious about the same thing. Kyudo arrives too. They all overhear Seiya confronting Minato in the dojo. Seiya asks why he returned to Kyudo. Minato explains that when he got the perfect shot sound he loved became a curse, making him want to quit, but hearing an even more beautiful tune made him realize he loved Kyudo too much to give up. Seiya comments that if Minato had said this to Kyudo earlier, they wouldn't be fighting. He then welcomes Minato back. Hearing this, Kyudo silently leaves Rai and Nano chase after him, but Kyudo dismisses their plan. Rai insists that Minato will overcome he one day, respecting Rai's belief. Kyudo acknowledges Minato for now. Later, Kyudo warns Minato that if he ever does Kyudo half-heartedly, he'll be kicked out. Nato promises he never will. Tomo tells Seiya he didn't expect him to interfere. Essie replies that he couldn't stop himself. They both agree it's a good first step. Realha is thrilled they can now enter the group tournament. Kyudo tells him that Kirasaki is the strongest team, making Raya eager to beat them. However, Seiya and Minato exchange nervous looks, knowing how strong Kirasaki really is. Later, Ro returns the diary to Nakazaki. Archery supplies. He thanks the man who helped him, who then notices Ra's KMI uniform. The man reveals he is a member of Kirasaki's Kyudo club. Later, he informs his teammates about KMI's new team, but they aren't worried. They believe they will win easily, especially since they have Shu Fujiwara back at KMI. Tomo announces the club will enter the prefectural tournament. He also reveals they will get a new coach as his back problems prevent him from shooting to Minato, and Kaido's shock, their new coach is Masaki, even more surprising. Both Minato and Kyudo already know him. Masaki becomes the new coach of the Kyudo club. Surprising the members, Tomo explains that they are old friends and that Masaki has 15 years of experience. Minato notices that Masaki has cut his hair, and Masaki says it was getting in the way. Kyudo is shocked because Masaki had previously said he would take a break from Kyudo. Minato, however, is happy. Masaki recognizes Nano, who says he heard about him from Kyudo. Seiya and he introduce themselves before Masaki starts practice. Tomo leaves for a meeting, putting Masaki in charge. Masaki watches Minato hesitate for shooting, but Minato denies it. When Minato misses, Masaki still praises his effort. Kyudo becomes annoyed by their bond, and Seiya points out that Kyudo also knows Masaki well. Kyudo is frustrated that Minato never told him about Masaki, while Seiya wonders why Masaki never mentioned Minato. Kyudo complains about Minato not being his bestie, and Seiya teases him for using that word the next day. Kyudo scolds Ryo and Minato for setting up targets incorrectly. The girls and Nano tease him for being too strict when Masaki and Tomo arrive. Tomo reminds Kyudo that Kyudo is about teamwork, which confuses him as he always saw it as an individual sport. Masaki tells him to remember the lesson. That evening, Kyudo and Nano hang out in Kyudo's room. Nano suspects that teamwork is important because of the upcoming group tournament as Kyudo bandages Nano's injured arm, he insists that skill matters more than making others feel good. Thano accuses him of being jealous of Masaki's attention to others, but Kaido denies it and claims he likes Minato because he is clueless meanwhile. Minato prepares dinner for himself and his father. His father notices he seems happy. The doorbell rings, revealing Seiya. And Kuma Seiya seems surprised to see Mato's father home early when Minato asks why they came. Seiya makes up an excuse about homework and then leaves frustrated that his plan failed at practice. Ryo struggles to string his bow. Kaido steps in to help, but accidentally causes Ra to hit Mato's forehead. Seiya scolds both of them, but Mi tries to calm things down. Kaido snaps at him to stop acting nice. Nasaki arrives and announces a mock tournament. Kaido objects, saying it's too soon. Noah points out that there are only 3 girls, but Masaki reveals he and an Oni archer will join. The Oni archer turns out to be Tomo, surprising everyone. Masaki explains that Tomo rarely shoots due to back problems. Kaido immediately agrees to join upon hearing Masaki will participate, but is disappointed to learn they will compete against each other. The teams decide their shooting order. Nasaki adds a rule. The losing team must serve the winners. Kaido and Seiya argue about shooting last, but time runs out and the tournament begins. The boys' team shoots first, followed by the girls' mixed team. When it's Tomo's turn, the boys expect him to miss because of his shaky hands, but he surprises them by hitting the center. Nasaki's flawless shot impresses everyone. The girls' team wins, making the boys their servants. As punishment, the boys wear servant t-shirts and pull weeds at the range. Nano and Ra tease Kaido, who blames Minato for their loss as Kaido and Seiya argue again. Raya asks them to get along. After finishing, Kaido demands a rematch, but is told that Tomo's back pain prevents him from shooting again. Seiya asks how long they must serve, and Masaki jokingly says forever before revealing it's only for today. At a 3-day weekend training camp, Kaido is excited, while Nanao initially refuses, saying he has a date. However, he later decides to go. Ra also wants to join, but needs parental permission. Masaki reminds the boys to bring their servant shirts later. Kaido feeds his cat Lucy and gets a message from Masaki, asking him to arrive an hour early at camp for a favor. Kaido happily agrees on the first morning of training camp. Kaido arrives early and sees a man taking photos at a shrine inside. Masaki helps Minato wear his late grandfather's kimono for a ceremonial shooting. Minato asks why Masaki initially told him to quit Kyudo instead of joining the club, but before Masaki can answer, Kaido rushes in, dragging the photographer. Masaki clarifies that the man is his older brother Ren. The rest of the club gathers at the Kyudojo waiting for the ceremony. Dano and Noah whisper that Masaki and Ren don't look alike. Soon, Masaki, Kaido, and Minato appear, and Tomo announces the start of the Yashi and training camp. Kaido stays with Masaki while Minato moves to the Achi. As the ceremony begins, Minato reflects on the Yaashi as a prayer for AR safety. He believes that if a god of archery exists, he must be watching Masaki and hopes that one day that god will smile at him too. On the second day of training camp, Masaki wakes the boys up early as they sit up. Ren takes pictures of them while they're still half asleep. Then Masaki tells everyone that they have only 15 minutes to get ready. After that, they have to assemble in the main hall. Meanwhile, Seiya also wakes up still half asleep, and his clumsy movements scare everyone for a second. Once they gather at the hall, Masaki checks their attendance and gives them chores like polishing the floors and organizing plaques. Kaido complains, saying those are usually his jobs, but no one listens. After breakfast, the boys head to the Kyudo gel. However, instead of practicing, Masaki tells them to pull weeds from the Yichi. At this, Kaido gets frustrated and tells Masaki to knock it off. The others are also upset because they want to practice for the tournament instead of doing chores. Nano speaks up and tells Masaki that this is not a Kyudo training camp at all. The boys beg Masaki to let them practice Kyudo. Finally, he agrees, but only to let them fix the target bank, set up targets, and put up new target sheets. When Kaido speaks up again, Masaki tells him that he can start by making the paste in the kitchen. Just then, Seiya speaks up and says what everyone's thinking, that they want Masaki to teach them how to shoot. In response, Masaki tells them that he wants them to shoot, but he reminds them that a match is a match after a moment of thinking. Masaki finally says that they can practice shooting if they finish their chores first. Although the boys aren't happy, they agree to do the work later. The boys start stirring up the dirt to prepare the area as they work. Rahi tells Kyudo to slow down, saying he's going too fast. However, Kyudo argues that they need to soften the dirt if they want to set up the targets properly. Then, Rye turns to Seiya and asks what he's doing. Seiya replies that if the angle isn't just right, it annoys him. A little while later, Masaki announces that the master team is waiting. Once the boys finish their work, they'll need to record the result of the bades and retrieve their arrows. Even though the boys aren't happy about this, they still agree. Then Masaki tells Ren to take the pictures properly. One of the girls complains that it is unfair to practice without the boys. However, Masaki tells her that the boys will learn by watching. Then Seiya asks Masaki if they can practice if there's any time left. Instead of answering, Masaki ignores his question and tells them to buy ingredients for dinner. Later, the boys ran toward the Kyudo dojo, excited to train again. As soon as they arrive, Masaki informs them that they have received the programs for the tournament. They gather around to take a look. After scanning the list, Minato's eyes widen in surprise. He realizes that his name is at the very top of the list, and just a little further down, he spots Shu's name. Nato arrived at Kyokakudo Hall, running to the other side. As he looked around, he spotted a woman practicing archery beside her. Shu was sitting calmly, noticing Minato. He looked up and asked, "Who are you?" At that moment, Minato suddenly woke up. It turned out it was just a dream. Meanwhile, Kyudo and Nanao are on the train heading toward the tournament venue. In looks at Kyudo and tells him to sit, but Kyudo refuses, as he wants to increase his aura points. At the same time, Minato is at home, playing with his dog, enjoying a brief moment of relaxation. Meanwhile, Seiya and his mother are getting ready to travel together. As they make their way, she asks if they are participating in the individual matches today. Seiya shakes his head and explains that the bows they are carrying are for practice at school, since it's the opening ceremony. On the other hand, Noah is at the temple praying sincerely that everything goes well and that Minato recovers quickly. Masaki and Tomo-sensei welcome the boys. As they arrive at the hall, Tomo-sensei looks at them and instructs them to fire each shot carefully. Meanwhile, Masaki reminds them that today marks the first public match of the KMI High School Kyudo Club. Moreover, he explains that a tournament has a completely different atmosphere, so they should not get confused by their surroundings. Instead, he urges them to stay focused on themselves in their performance. Tomo-sensei and Masaki go ahead first to discuss something with the organizers. Meanwhile, inside the hall, the boys feel excited as they take in the crowd, seeing so many pretty maidens around. They can't help but be bricked. Dana says the girls in Hakama look really nice, which makes Ra blush in embarrassment. Just then, Kyudo suddenly notices Kirasaki approaching them. The Shugara twins from Kirasaki High School leave the boys shaken as they tell Nano that their girls are not interested in them. However, the twins are soon caught. Seiya brings up Shu and asks if Minato is ready to face him at the tournament. Ikei points out that if Shu attends, they will definitely run into each other. However, Mato simply replies that Shu has probably forgotten about him by now. Outside Kyudo Hall, Mangi and Sishi sit with Shu. They asked him about the guy who self-destructed at last year's tournament. Shu glances at them and asks if they are acting like this on purpose.